How has this current real estate market affected the emotions of buyers and sellers? Why real estate agents may be making decisions that may not be in your best interest. And if you bought a home during the pandemic and regret it, you are not alone. Everything you need to know about the market and my fall update starting now. So here's what's happening in the Twin Cities market. Third and fourth quarter of 2023. We've come off a very uncertain first half of the year. Buyers right now are getting mixed messages in the real estate economy. The market's really, really complex. Buyers are more emotional than they've ever been before. And we're just seeing agents probably more desperate for deals than they are right now. So they're saying some things and doing some things that are maybe swaying buyers to make decisions they shouldn't be making right now. There's just a lot of uncertainty making things very complex. I tell people right now, the hardest thing for me to do in this market is to price a home. Home prices have almost been like the stock market the last 6 to 10 months. We've seen some really, really active periods of the marketplace, and we've seen some really, really slow periods of the marketplace. I made a statement in an earlier podcast that we could literally take two homes, identical floor plans, identical finishes, and put them side by side on the market right now for the same price. One would sell in multiple offers and the other would sit for 30 days. It's just a very strange market to navigate for any of us. I'm not sure how those agents that haven't been through this before are even having any sort of remote success in this marketplace right now. I've had one of the most challenging years I've had in almost 2 decades to get buyers to the finish line. I've had more transactions fall apart this year just purely based on fear. When buyers enter into a purchase agreement or enter into a buying decision, of course, they start listening to social media, and certain media outlets will report that interest rates are at a 30-year high and you shouldn't buy, you should wait. Others will report that since interest rates are high, there's less buyer demand and you should buy now. So just a lot of uncertainty and a lot of complexity in the marketplace right now. Some interesting statistics year over year right now, showing activity in general, it's down about 35%. So 3.5 out of 10 buyers right now have really backed out of the marketplace and decided to kind of take their foot off the gas and wait till next spring. They predict next spring that the buyers will come flooding back into the marketplace as rates go down into the mid to low sixes, potentially even high fives. First half of next year, and some are predicting that they'll go down into the low fives and high fours within the next 24 months. So a lot of buyers are waiting on the sidelines. However, I don't know how that's going to benefit them. They may end up paying more for that house while they get a lower interest rate. They may end up paying more for that home. Thus, they're paying the same per month for that identical house. So that remains to be seen. Median days on market. So the average time on market for a home right now has doubled over the last 12 months. Last year at this time, they were selling in about 10 to 15 days. Right now, it's about 20 to 30 days for a home to be on the market. And that's for a home priced right. I'm seeing a lot of agents right now really struggle with pricing, right? I think one of the most challenging things for us as agents, as I mentioned, is to price that home. And the reason being is sellers, when you meet with them, will say, well, my neighbor down the street got $700,000 for their house a year ago. Well, we're not in that market anymore. We're in a much different market right now. So we almost have to look forward rather than backward. Appraisers are using, comps that have sold in the last 6 months, but we almost have to really look at the last 60 days and predict the next 60 days. So what happened 6 months ago just isn't what's happening today. Closed sales were down about 25% year over year. I think that statistic is actually light. I'm hearing other data nationwide where closed sales are down almost 40% in a lot of markets. But this is the 13-county Twin Cities region. They're saying we're down about 25% year over year. Just new listing inventory is down about 16%. So a lot of those sellers right now that are locked in at those 2, 3, and even 4% interest rates are really not wanting to sell. So it's really taken inventory and tightened it up even more and made it more challenging for buyers to find homes right now. One interesting article that I read was 50% of buyers that made a purchase during COVID regret their decision to purchase, right? They got into this fear of missing out. Rates were low. They jumped into the game. They got caught up in the moment. Emotions took over. They bought a house that maybe wasn't right for them. They waived inspection, and now they've been living in that house for a year or two, and they're realizing this isn't the right place for them. I think as we start to navigate into interest rates sneaking down into the upper fives, low sixes, and if they get as low as upper fours, low fives, those sellers now will start to close that gap from their 3.5% interest rate to maybe a 5.5%, and they'll make a move, thus opening inventory at some point in the next year or two, in my opinion. So if you are on the sidelines waiting for more inventory, there may be some light at the end of the tunnel. As I mentioned, just statistically right now, homes for sale are down about 35%. One of the most staggering statistics that I've seen is the average sale price of a home has gone from about 104% during the peak of the what I call the COVID market to today they're getting about 100%. So that's, again, a blanket statistic, but I'm seeing my sellers get anywhere from 98 to about 101% of sale price right now, whereas about a year and a half ago, my sellers were getting about 104 to 100, as much as 107% of their listing price. So the competition isn't quite as fierce. Buyers right now, I think only 1 in 10 buyers are waiving home inspections, and that's on some of the very, very high demand, lower priced product. I still think it's a horrible idea to waive a home inspection. I'm seeing more sellers have to pay closing costs for buyers, so it's becoming normal again. Some of those closing costs are used to buy rates down, so they're going from a 7% to maybe a 5.5% by getting a 1.5% closing cost compensation or contribution from that seller. So we're seeing just a lot of differences in the local real estate market, but also a lot of, I think, opportunities if you're navigating this market with the right agent. I'm seeing agents that are newly licensed in the last 2 to 3 years, or part-time agents that are only doing one deal every couple of months, not understanding the dynamics of this new market and still encouraging their buyers to do things they just don't need to do in this market. I recently sold a house I had listed at 1.295. We ended up selling at 1.325. We had 2 showings and one buyer make an over asking price offer for no reason. They bid against themselves. It just wasn't necessary. Of course, I was on the sell side, so my seller won in that situation, but this is an agent that has sold, I think, 3 or 4 homes this year and none over $1 million, so just didn't understand the dynamics of that market, that it just wasn't necessary to go in with a over ask hard offer. I mean, they had an inspection, but their contingency was it was either pass or fail in the inspection. They wouldn't ask for any inspection fixes, so they put stipulations in the contract that just weren't necessary when you're the only one writing an offer. So it's really important to work with somebody that's not only been doing this a long time, but is doing this every day, because every day this business is changing right now. It's really, really fluid. It's really uncertain. I do think there is some light at the end of the tunnel when it comes to the local real estate market. As we head into early fourth quarter, late fourth quarter of this year, I do think that things are going to get really soft, but we'll start to get inflation under control. And I used this analogy in another podcast. What's happening is we've got this rubber band effect where the interest rates go up. We're pulling back on this rubber band, and the buyers are waiting, they're waiting, and there's more buyers in the sidelines that are pulling this rubber band back, just waiting for things to happen. And when rates get into that, let's say 5.5 or upper 5s, they're going to release that rubber band, and these buyers are going to come pouring back into the marketplace, and there's going to be so much more competition because of this wait and see mentality. So waiting isn't necessarily the best option. Buying now may not be the best option. Don't fall into the trap of marry the house, date the rate, because we don't know that those rates will come down. There is no guarantee that rates will come down. Although it's more than likely that rates will come down, you'll have an opportunity to refi and get a lower interest rate in the next 2 years. Should home prices come down and you bought a home with 10% down and that home adjusts negatively 10%, you won't have the ability to refi because you won't have the equity to do so. So you'll be stuck with that interest rate of 7 or 7.5 that you purchased your home at in today's current economy. So more than anything, I think right now just sitting down and getting some advice and guidance from a good professional realtor is more valuable than ever before. It's not just, hey, I'll meet you at the house, we got to be the first ones there and we got to come in with a strong offer, or it's going to sell to somebody else. That's just not the market we're in anymore. Now, there are exceptions to that rule. There are homes that are selling overnight in multiple offers, inspections getting waived, but that's less than 15% of the marketplace right now. The majority of the market, there's opportunities to make good, solid buying decisions right now and be patient. So if you're thinking of buying or selling, I don't think there's a bad time. If you're thinking next year, as we get into the first quarter of 2024 and maybe even early part of second quarter is going to be a good opportunity for you, I would encourage you to get together with somebody like myself now, get some good green grass summer photography taken of your home, and really start to prepare so that we can time things right when the market presents itself next spring. If I can help in any way, please don't hesitate to reach out to me.